All right, Ripley's Believe It or Not. That's not a parking spot. Wisconsin Dells River Walk. How do you enjoying the river walk, Julie?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's nice out.
We're got a little boat tour coming up, so we'll get to see it. I've actually never been on a boat tour. We live about 3-ish hours away or so, and we're gonna see the Upper Dells tour. So I'll film a little bit there.
I'm really happy that we're back in our type of weather.
Yeah, it's nice here.
Like I'm getting burned.
Yeah. Well, there's gonna be some sun out, but it's not gonna be anything crazy. Yeah.
Still stands on Broadway today. His three-dimensional stereoscopes of the beautiful Dells landscape quickly gained nationwide acclaim.
It's crazy. I forget how good the Dells is because I see it as like a tourist town, but I forget like how beautiful it really is.
Look at the river. That'd be fun to kayak on.
Yep.
Although I don't see many kayakers.
They'll be out. Oh, beautiful views. Gotta love Wisconsin Dells.
I've got about 2¼ hour trip ahead of you today, and I've got 2 shorelines within that.
Everyone, and welcome aboard the Joliet. Today we're going to be embarking on a 2-hour, 10-mile round trip across the beautiful and scenic Upper Dells of the Wisconsin River. Along the way today, we will be making 2 port stops, the first being at the Witches Gulch about 45 minutes into the tour, and the second at the world's famous Stand Rock. Pretty good at making stuff up, so we should be all set. But I do think that's enough about me, so I'll hand off the mic to your captain on board. Here's Luke.
Joliet might rock and sway out here on the river today. Bottom deck of that rocking and swaying makes you nauseous. Please remember, our windows down here are open. But more importantly, top deck if that makes you nauseous, please remember, our windows down here are open. That is kind of a joke, but not really at all. We do understand that it is a scenic tour, so if you'd like to stand quickly to take a picture, that's perfectly okay. Just find your seat immediately following that. Our next rule is no smoking. Once again, please no smoking. We are sitting on top of 2 gasoline-powered engines. This boat was meant to go through the water, not fly through the air, so we ask that you do not smoke on board today. We do have 1 designated smoking area at the end of the Witches Gulch Trail. That's the only point in our entire 2 hours together that it is okay to smoke. Our last and the most important rule is we humbly request when your tour guide Jenna or myself is on the microphone, if you guys could keep your louder cell phone conversations down to a minimum. I understand you might be tired of our super good jokes, but maybe everybody else around you is not, and you know what I like to say about that rule. We're all in the same boat, folks. We're all in the same boat here. And if you didn't like that here, so they sent it on down to Milwaukee to power their streetcars and rail cars. These days, power from the Kilbourne Dam is used for 10,000 area homes and businesses. And before I give it back over to Jenna, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about our boat as well. Today we're riding on the Joliet. It was built back in 1952. It is 55 feet long, 12 feet wide. It's powered by 2 Chrysler 318 225 horsepower engines, and it weighs in at 36 tons. And as we leave the city of Wisconsin Dells behind us, I like to think that we leave behind all of those things that didn't necessarily make our area well known. Those upside-down White Houses, t-shirt shops, and water parks are great. However, they didn't show up until the 1960s. We've been out here giving boat tours since 1857. So it is this very river and these very rocks that you guys are about to see that are the true history of Wisconsin Dells. And of course, best of all, you have Jenna to tell you all about it. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the beautiful and scenic Upper Dells of the...
In front of us to our right is a fairly high rock. It stands about 65 feet tall. And once again, we do call it High Rock. So give it a big wave and say, Hey Rock. Now the cliff up to your left-hand side is going to be called Romance Cliff. That one stands about 75 feet tall. Now today the Wisconsin River does reach its deepest point in between these 2 large cliffs at 110 feet deep. We'll also be the juncture of 4 Wisconsin counties. Those are Sauk, Columbia, Juneau, and Adams County. Now our next rock formation today on the tour is going to be seen up in front of us to our right-hand side. You guys are going to want to look for that pillar-like structure that sort of resembles a stack of pancakes back behind that tree that you'll see is just falling. Look once again to our right for that stack of pancakes. That is more commonly known as Chimney Rock. It was named after its resemblance to stick and mortar chimneys used by pioneers in the olden days. And it's a great example of the differential erosion that you'll find out here over the span of the Wisconsin River. Again, up in front of us to our right, at the bare spot among the cliffs. We call that Blackhawks Profile. You're going to want to look for that large rock slab that protrudes from the cliff. That's going to represent Blackhawk's nose, and that is the most prominent feature of his face. The slit above that represents his eyes, and the slit below that his mouth. Again, directly to your right, Blackhawks Profile. Now, Blackhawk was a native leader of the area of the Fox and Sauk tribes of the Wisconsin Territory, with also a lot of the area spanning across the state of Illinois, and it naturally has inside of it. Now, because it is very soft and porous type of sandstone, it does absorb a lot of water and moisture around this area. Now, because of all that moisture that it does absorb, in the process it does give off a cooling effect known as microclimate. If you look about 60 yards upriver from this first large rock, you're going to notice that other one with that slow to wait sign at the very top leads. Now, the most dangerous part of their entire voyage is actually going to be seen directly up in front of the boat today. And as you guys can see, it kind of looks like the river comes to a dead end or stop. It finishes off on the left side of all those cliffs, creating a 90-degree bend. Those lumber rafts would come from that left side. They get their rafts trapped up in these swirling currents here, and then they run into these right side shoreline cliffs, oftentimes losing their lives and the rafts in the process. Now, due to the amount of lives lost here in this 90-degree bend, it got the famous nickname, the Devil's Elbow. Now, it does look a lot less dangerous than it did back then, as you guys are going to have to imagine the water level here ran about 20 feet shallower than what it is now. There's about 20 feet more of exposed bedrock, and these currents, swirling currents and whirlpools, those ran about 35 miles per hour back then. So, due to the amount of lives lost here in this 90-degree bend, it did lead to a new occupation, and that was a standing river pilot. Now, standing river pilots were locals that would come out here, they'd stand on these cliffs and would help navigate all those lumber raftsmen through the elbow and through the rest of the section of the Narrows. Now, the most famous of all of those standing river pilots was a man named Leroy Gates, and Leroy actually left us our first ever billboard, and today you guys are able to see that coming to view to our left-hand side. So in this next little inlet off to our left, look at that flat slab of rock in the shaded region. Go about 8 feet above the water to the top of that rock, and you're going to see those two lines of an engraving or an inscription. Again, about 8 feet above the water to the top of that flat slab of rock. Easiest word to pick out is Dells right in the center, D-E-L-L-S. We call it Speedboat Rock. Again, you're going to see that off to our left. As we do start to make our way around the inside of Steamboat Rock on our left and the mainland to our right, you may have noticed it gets a little bit cooler, a little bit shadier. Now you can see him a little bit romantic. So we call this Lover's Lane, and we do have a tradition here on the Joliet. You find yourself sitting next to that special someone, pretty cute stranger, maybe a favorite child.
Maybe not a stranger.
Scooch on over. Look him in the eyes. Give him a nice, crisp,
juicy
$20 bill. Looking direct. Now here in the evenings, the sun actually sets across the bay, and all the beautiful colors from that sunset, they reflect against the surface of the water and onto that rock, giving it a glowing effect, and that beautiful name today, the Sunset Cliffs.
Joliet is in 3 places golf.
There's people up there too.
How do they get up there?
Now the cliff you're going to see on the opposite side of the So I do recommend holding on to anything that might fly away in the wind. Things like hats, garbage, small children, anything like that. If something does fly overboard and go into the river today,
Like something just did.
that's totally okay. Just raise your right hand. I'll then raise my right hand. And we'll both wave goodbye as we drive past it. So sit back and relax. Should be our next stop in about 5 minutes.
He's cute, look at him.
The dog up there.
He's so cute. Now the man who made Sandbar famous was H.H. Bennett, or Henry Hamilton Bennett. He was a freelance pioneer photographer from the late 1800s in the Dallas area that helped make this area famous just like he did. But obviously due to insurance reasons today, things have changed. Then they switched to the tour guide going up to the very top and jumping across. Thankfully we don't do that either. Alright, is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Katie.
Wow. There he goes.
There's another boat like ours.
I'm always going to get a picture of you when you're so far behind.
Oh.
We go back into the ghost boat. So as you can see, this is pretty narrow back there. Those cliffs are only about 13 feet apart. And these big blue and white tour boats, they average about 11.5 to 12.5 feet wide. 8 feet above the rock, and you're going to see Leroy Gates, Dells River pilot from 1849 to 58.
Look at him go.
The term is scousing, and that means deep, dark, rushing waters, or where the dark waters scouse. Boats that we have in our fleet here at Dells Boat Tours. We take that boat out for our sunset dinner cruise.